Hi, my name's Graham Cunningham from Heirloom Computing, and today I'm going to take you through how we can take a CICS, COBOL CICS BMS application without making any changes at all, transform that into a Java application that will run under IBM WebSphere. And so let's get started. So first we need a COBOL CICS program. Heirloom ships with several samples, and one of the samples is a mortgage amortization program, which happens to use this ETP Mortgage Amortization program, and we'll just call this ETP Mort. So ETP is the Elastic Transaction Platform, and it's Heirloom's equivalent of the CICS environment. It's all written in Java, and it implements every CICS verb that you can imagine. There are some minor exceptions, but basically everything that you do in CICS can be done in the Elastic Transaction Platform. So what have we got generated here? We have some COBOL source. We have a welcome screen or welcome COBOL, and you see that this welcome is a CICS program, and it's got send map welcome. For those of you from BMS, you'll realise that somewhere there must be a BMS screens definition. If we go have a look in the resources here, you'll see that we have a welcome.bms file, and here is the 3270 screens definition for this welcome screen. We have three other programs: input, output and welcome. And if we have a look in the Java source code, the intermediate Java code, you'll see that we also have input, output and welcome Java code. If I just delete these, you can see that these are generated by Elastic COBOL. So if I now do project build working set, clean and build, clean all projects, you'll see that these Java files have been regenerated. That's just to show you that it is the COBOL is being compiled and Java is the output. Now we want to run this program. It runs under an application server, an application container. That can be anything. It can be Jetty, it can be JBoss, Wildfly, it could be Oracle's WebLogic, but today I'm going to use IBM's WebSphere. So first we have to create a deployment file, because there's quite a lot of configuration that needs to happen for a deployment. Heirloom have created an ATP project which will help us with the deployment. So I'll just call this project ETP deploy. And if we go have a look at the settings, the project ETP deployment settings, we're going to change this sysid to be Mort. That's like the it's going to be the servlet name. We want to have a participating project of ETP Mort. The programs we want to work with are minput, moutput and welcome. And we need to map those programs to transactions, so to CICS transactions. So we have an init transaction, which is going to map to the welcome screen. We have an input transaction, which is going to map to the input screen. And we have an output transaction, which is going to map to the output screen. Okay. That's basically it for this program. That's all we need to set up. But as you can see here, we have SQL settings that we could do to set up SQL data sources. We have journals, queues, JMS. We have a considerable amount of configuration that we can do so that we can provide at runtime and at configure time all the services that a mainframe COBOL would expect to see on the mainframe. Right, so now that we've done that, let's just deploy this project. So we do an export. We'll use the deployment wizard. That's the project we're going to deploy, and we're going to drop this into a deployments directory just on my C drive. We're going to call it mort.er or mort.war. Wow, there we go. Finished. Okay, that's everything deployed. Now, what I've done is I've deployed that to a directory on my computer. To make sure that that gets deployed to the server, when I set up WebSphere, I created it so that he would look on a specific directory, and when I drop a file into that directory, it would be automatically deployed. So if I go to drop in and copy in that mort.war file, the Mort application has now been automatically deployed on WebSphere. So here's my WebSphere running. If I go to Mort servlet, program starts, and there we go. And there you see that we've got, although we're running in a web browser, we've got a BMS 3270 screen, which is, just what we're used to. We can click enter. It carries on, and this being a mortgage amortization program, you can see that we can set the years and some down payments. Maybe we set that to 444, whatever. If I click enter now, it'll carry on. Display the output here. So as you can see, this just outputs a table, the amortization schedule for this mortgage payment that we've made. Okay. That's great, everything's running, but what would happen if we had a problem or if we wanted to do some debug? Well, I started WebSphere with debug parameters, so we can attach to the WebSphere application that's running, and we can start doing some debug. So what I want to do now is, if I go into the output COBOL program, and I go down to somewhere in the procedure section, procedure division here. If I do set a breakpoint on compute values, right? When I attach now and when we run the program, when it gets to this point in the COBOL code, it will come back and it will stop at this breakpoint, and we'll be able to debug. So let's set that up. If we debug as, or debug configuration, we want to do a remote COBOL application debug. We have a look at this, and you see that we're going to go to 192.168.99.100, which is my machine, and we're going to attach on port 8888, which is the debug port that I set up on WebSphere. We go there and we flip to debug mode, you see that now we have got a remote COBOL application running, and you see that all the threads are running. Let's flip over to that application. Let's click around. Let's enter some value that we can look up maybe later. Do enter. Now if we flip back to the Eclipse debugger, there we've set a breakpoint on perform compute values. You see that that is where exactly we've ended up, and now we can do things like step over or step return or step into. So let's go into compute values and step into that. Let's go find where this initial value is. That was the down payment amount. So what was the down payment that I set? I set 8888, and there you can see it. We can also highlight this and monitor it by adding it to the monitor view. So if that changed anywhere in the program as we stepped through, we'd be able to see that change in the monitor view. We can also see our context where we are, which is just all the variables that are currently available to us. That's it for now. Let's just run through. You see the program continued to run. If we go back, the program runs normally until we hit a breakpoint, in which case it comes back to the COBOL program. I'll run this through now, detach, and that's the end of the demo. Okay, so what have we seen today? We've seen that we can take a mainframe COBOL CICS BMS application, simply compile it in the Eclipse development environment, and that's automatically compiled, which produces Java. These Java files we can then deploy along with the Elastic COBOL runtime to an application server of our choice. Today we chose WebSphere. Once that's deployed, the application runs and it looks like a BMS 3270 screen application. We've seen that we can attach to that application and debug it in COBOL code. Hopefully you've enjoyed this screencast and it's piqued your interest to get further information about heirloom computing products. Hope to have you come back and watch the next screencast.